Let me tell you a story. At my former job, I had this colleague who made me it going to work every day. This guy was always gossipy about me. He always undermines my ideas at work and he never appreciate whatever effort I put in to my work. It seems as if he loves to be happy whenever I am sad. And the worst part was not what he did to me, it was what he made me to become. I became someone with low self esteem as I lost my confidence. I became more anxious at work and I was always irritated and angry. This guy was just living rent free in my head because I didn't know what to expect of him. I didn't know what he was going to do next. So I discussed this with a close friend of mine who told me not to try to defeat him at his game. Instead, he told me to focus on protecting my peace of mind, my reputation, and my career. And also, I came across some important materials which has to do with handling toxicity at workplace, and this helped me a lot. So thankfully I was able to devise effective strategies to help me handle this toxic coworker without losing my mind. And in this video I'm going to tell you exactly how you can do that. So watch on. First, before we discuss these strategies, you must ensure to establish whether your colleague is actually toxic. Being a difficult colleague does not necessarily make you a toxic colleague. For instance, if your colleague is being blunt or you both disagrees on issues or is having a bad day or you are having personality clashes, all this does not make your coworker toxic. That is to say, a bad interaction with someone does not actually make that person a toxic individual. What you should watch out for in a toxic individual is pattern. Do they constantly criticize you in front of others? Do they publicly humiliate you so as to put you down? Do they always take your credit for your work? Do they manipulate situations to make themselves look good and to make you look bad? Do they cross your boundaries always? All these are harmful behaviors that you should identify. And once you identify a repeated pattern of harmful behaviors, only then you can establish that that person is being toxic. And once you clarify that situation, the next step is how do you deal with the situation. That is where my own strategy comes into play. So I'm going to give you some effective and practical strategies to handle a toxic coworker at work. My first strategy is you must learn to respond calmly to provocations. I repeat again, you must learn to respond calmly to provocations. I know this is one of the hardest thing to do. It's not easy to keep your calm, especially when you are very angry. So imagine a scenario like this. your colleague comes up to you and say you don't know what you are doing, your first instinct is to get angry and say, who are you? What do you know? Your voice is louder, you are very angry, and you are no longer having a conversation. You are putting all your powers in the hands of your colleague because he knows he can control and manipulate you by provoking you. So, what you need to do in this scenario is to respond calmly. You just take a pause, take a deep breath, and you can say, if you have a problem with my work, let's address the specific issue calmly. No long explanation, no shouting. You are just be professional and calm. And that way, they will not know how to control you. Because if they can provoke you easily, if they can get under your skin easily, which means they can control you easily. They can have you wherever and whenever they want. So responding calmly, taking your time to respond, taking a deep breath, taking a pause, all this will help you. All this will help you. So you don't have to respond immediately. My second strategy is you must learn to set boundaries at your workplace. Setting clear boundary does not mean you should be aggressive. This is what many people think it is, and that is a wrong concept. Setting boundaries simply means you are showing people that this is what I'm willing to accept and this is what I will not accept. Now, imagine a scenario like this in your place of work. A colleague of yours who constantly dump his work on you comes over you to say, I want you to do this for me right now. And at that point, you have like 5 other things to do. Instead of saying fine and later complaining, try this. Tell him, I can't right now because I'm working on S and Y project. However, if this is priority, we should clarify so that we know which one should move first. You see, you are not shouting, you are not being defensive, you are not accusing him, you are not apologizing, you are just being calm and professional. If at the end of the day he gets angry because he couldn't take advantage of you, that does not mean that your boundary is wrong. In fact, their reaction is a proof that your boundary is necessary. So you must learn to set clear boundaries at your place of work. My third strategy is you must learn to document patterns. You see, this strategy is very important, especially when situation at your workplace gets very serious. Now, keeping records of incident does not mean you are keeping a revenge file of your coworkers or colleague. It is very necessary because sometimes your memory becomes unreliable and emotion makes you see situation differently. So that's why documenting important fact is very important. So when you have a colleague who always give you his conflicting instructions, who constantly humiliate you in public, always try to take credit for work, you must ensure to keep record of this incident. Save important emails and dates. confirm verbal instructions in writing, and this fact becomes much more useful than just emotional accusation. For example, instead of you saying James is a horrible person who wants me out of this job, you can say on Tuesday James gave me an instruction to do X and Y on Friday. On Wednesday, he gave me a different instruction. You see the difference between both? The first one is emotional accusation. The second one has to deal with facts. And you must build your case around this principle. First of all, you don't build your case around how you feel. You build your case around what actually happened. This will be much more useful when you decide to report incidents to your HRO department, managers, or other relevant authorities within your job settings. It is far much useful than just saying this colleague of mine is very toxic. The fourth strategy is never to seek their approval. You see, I was guilty of this. At my previous job, I spent a great deal of time trying to win the approval of my toxic colleague. I wanted to show him that I was a good person, that I'm someone who can work very hard, that someone is very accommodating, and whenever he failed to acknowledge my effort, I felt so very bad. And trying to win his approval cost me a lot. It cost me my peace of mind because I was putting so much energy into winning his attention, into winning his approval, into trying to make him like me. You see, you don't need to do that. As far as you are professional, you do your work well, you communicate effectively, you don't have to make them like you. As far as you are walking the right path, you don't have to look for their approval. You don't have to seek their attention, because doing so means you are handing them so much power. And the only way you will ever be happy is when they approve of your actions. And you don't want people to hold such a power over you. So you should have power over yourself. You should make yourself happy, not others. Your happiness should not be dependent on your colleagues or your boss. It should be dependent on you and you alone. My fifth strategy is to escalate when necessary. You see, the fact that you are calm in the face of provocation does not mean you have to stay silent forever. Escalate when necessary. When the situation becomes very serious, when the behavior becomes repeated and puts your safety at risk, it makes you feel like not going to do your job, and it affects your social standing within the society. However, you must use this progression. First, you clarify what is actually happening. Then second, you set your boundary by clearly communicating what you accept and what you will not accept. Third, you document and keep record of all significant incidents. And fourth, you address this professionally by having a direct conversation. And if all these fail, then you escalate by involving your manager or the HR department or any other relevant channel within your office setting that handles such behaviors. You see, you are not obligated to stay silent when you are being abused, when you are being threatened, when your safety is at risk. The goal is not to be tough. The goal is to stay protected. Now, I have given you my 5 strategies. There are 3 things you must not do as well. First, you shouldn't gossip about them. You see, why will you join in the same culture that you're actually complaining about? So you shouldn't be part of the same culture. 2, never send angry text messages. That message you are writing now that you are furious, don't send it. Read it again tomorrow. Your emotions could be justified, but your reactions can still hurt you. And the third thing you should do is never respond to every battle. The truth is, you don't have to fight every battle. Don't give energy to every provocation that comes your way. But it is important you document it, set a boundary, and move on. That is the smart thing to do. You are not expected to win every interaction. The goal is to protect your long-term career within your workspace. And if you are dealing with difficult bosses, toxic colleagues, office politics, and toxic workplace environment, I have written a book titled How to Deal with People at Work. I will put the link in the description if you would like to go deeper. And if you want to learn more about leadership in the office, emotional intelligence, handling difficult situations in your workplace, office politics, and becoming a better person, then subscribe to the strategy room.